Welcome back. Today I'm going to cover black and white photos and when to convert as a black and white, and thinking about that when you're setting up the photo, this would be a great black and white instead of taking a photo and then going, oh, maybe I could convert this as a black and white. And sometimes that happens and you can be pleasantly surprised. I've seen a lot lately in Facebook groups and my own group where somebody's posted and gone one of each and go, which do you prefer? And it's kind of an afterthought. So we're going to cover that in today's episode. The big question is this: how do smartphone photo enthusiasts like us become that creative and confident photographer we desire and deserve to be, creating those beautiful, impactful photos? This podcast will give you the answers. I'm Mike, and welcome to the Smartphone Photography Club. All right, so this is not so much a pet peeve of mine or something I get upset at, not like horizons. If I see people who have been in my group for a while and community for a while know that if I see a crooked horizon, I'm always going to pick people up on it because there's no excuse. You can straighten it, it looks weird. But black and white, I see so many black and white images. You look at it and go, I don't get it. I don't understand why you made that as a black and white. Now, black and white conversions can be really helpful for if there's images where there's a really distracting color, or there's something in there that you just want to remove using touch retouch or the retouch app on the iOS, touch retouch on the Android, Google Play, then sometimes when you do use those tools to remove something, it can go a bit blotchy, and black and white can be forgiving. Black and white can hide a lot of imperfections in your photos. If you've taken a photo that is a nighttime photo and there's a lot of grain and grittiness, then converting it to a black and white, that grain and speckled salt pepper kind of artifacts can actually look deliberate and it look like film grain, create a mood, that sort of thing. But black and white should not be used as a get out of jail free card and used in a way that I'll just convert it to black and white. It didn't work, because black and white images can be so powerful and engaging and have that likability and viewability, whatever word you want to use. But for me, I love black and white, and my background in black and white, when I started this process, or this journey I should say, from 20 years of very technical photography, and I wanted to get into start again as a hobbyist and get into the whole creative side of photography. One of the things I struggled with was seeing the light. Everyone talks about seeing the light and light chasers and all these sort of terms. And I didn't quite understand. I knew that you needed really good light to get the squeeze as much as you could out of the camera, to get tack sharp focus and all this sort of thing that I used to do, but I never really understood it. But light can, it can change the mood, it can bring out details in textures and that sort of thing with side lighting, and it's great. But when you go into black and white photography and you use one of those live filters and on your camera, and you choose black and white or monotone, whatever you have, once you do that, you start seeing light. And that is how I got into black and white photography, because I wanted to see the contrast of light without the distracting color. And that's what it does, is shooting in black and white removes color, distractions, and all you see is shape, form, shades, lines, textures, all these cool things that we kind of don't notice in our day-to-day life. So shooting in black and white will help you understand what scenario, what scene, what subject actually looks really good as a black and white. And then shooting like that, then I could understand light. I could say, okay, side lighting. So if I've got a rock or something, and you have side lighting, then all the little textures on the rock will just pop and come to life instead of midday harsh sun just beating down from one direction, just flooding it with light. Having soft morning, afternoon light and side lighting can really make those things pop, and you really notice it with black and white. So why am I saying all this? Because I've got a photo here. Now remember, if you're listening on the podcast, I have a YouTube with it. With most of these podcasts, I have a YouTube to go with it, so you can see the visuals. I try my best to explain visually what I'm doing. At the moment, I have on the screen here a photo that I took in the London Underground at Baker Street. The reason why I took this photo is I saw the light coming through the top, and there's so much textures on the wall, and just such a dynamic range. But it was screaming at me, black and white. And sometimes we don't quite see these opportunities, but when you do, you go, oh yeah, that. Even if you take a color, you go, I reckon this would look really good as a black and white, and it's so easy to edit it and do that. And I'll explain that shortly, how to do that. But this works for me as a black and white because I've got so many lines, I've got some dynamic lighting, I've got some light areas, I've got spotlighting, I've got shadows. Shadows are just as important when setting up a photo, so you have that depth and mystery, and shadows are amazing. But here in this photo, I have a lady on the right side of the frame sitting on a seat, and she's absorbed in what she's doing, looking at her phone, and she has a light from above shining down on her and casting a shadow on the floor, and she's illuminated, she's well lit from above. So you can't quite see her face. That's okay, because I wanted the attention of the viewer of this photo to kind of spot her, but then be encouraged to look around the rest of the photo. And now I have to confess, the original photo did not have Hugh Laurie on a board. This was from another photo from 20 meters down the platform. I took a photo of him on the wall. And so this is actually two photos blended into one. So I'm cheating a little bit here because I saw that and I thought, I like the way he's kind of staring at me on that poster. And then combining the two of them here, he looks like he's looking at me going, what are you doing taking a photo of that lady? So it's kind of, I like it, it's kind of cool. And and it's got nice symmetry with the two spots at the top there where the light's coming through. So, and it's well balanced. And yeah, but this works as a black and white. Now I have got another example here. I'm going to bring this one up on my phone. So this was a photo. I went out to the clothesline one day and in the rain, running out there to get the clothes off the clothesline, and my son was looking out the window and he just looked so miserable. He did. I should bring myself up on camera here as well. And he just looked so miserable looking out the window, and I didn't have my camera with me. So I raced back inside, came back, and he was gone. I said, mate, I just saw an amazing photo opportunity. Can you, so again, I've cheated. Could you go back to the window and look out the way you were before? He didn't understand what I was talking about. So mate, just look out there and just imagine that you're disappointed that you can't go out on the trampoline. So he did that, and such a fine actor, he pulled it off. It replicated the exact moment that I saw, that I missed, that I went back and captured. Now, my photographic intention here, the intention was to kind of highlight the raindrops on the window and the expression, but have him slightly out of focus so that and this can be achieved through different shooting techniques on the iPhone. It's amazing what you can do when you know what you're doing with these techniques. So I deliberately made him out of focus a little bit. And so I took the photo, and it just didn't have that impact that I wanted. Didn't have that gloomy kind of miserable look that I wanted. So as I mentioned before, sometimes you can convert things to black and white and be surprised. And this was the photo that it turned into. And when I zoomed in and looked and converted it to black and white, it removed all the color tones. It removed, and I cropped it, got rid of the window frame, so it was just Mitchell behind the fly screen, and you can see all the drops of water there. And what's amazing about this black and white is that you can see the textures of the fly screen, and he's blurred behind, so you can't quite see his mouth, you can't quite see his eyes. You can see that it's a boy there, and he does look sad, and the raindrops, it just tells a story. It's so much more powerful, in my opinion, in a black and white than just color, because we've removed all that distraction. And we're showing just the simplest form of the photo being just the textures, the tones. And through editing, I went in and really sharpened some of that fly mesh around his face, so that just to really pull you in. And one of the water droplets near his mouth, I brightened that. So with black and white, you can do that dodging and burning where you brighten and darken just specific areas of the image. And it stands out so much more than a color image when you brighten and darken different areas, because that's all you see is bright and dark. You see all the different contrast. So yeah, so that was that one. So black and white, it's just bring the camera back to myself. So black and white, think about, when you look at the scene, think about, okay, there's some textures, there's some tone, shades, shadows, light, there's lines, there's things in this image that will look so much more dynamic and engaging and powerful as a black and white instead of just as a go-to if your images don't quite work. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that because sometimes that can work, but I just encourage you to start thinking about black and white from that perspective. All right, so how do we convert black and white? I'll cover that in another episode because there's lots of different ways with some amazing free apps that are out there. So thanks for joining me. Again, if you could subscribe, comment, just make contact, let me know what you want, and because you help shape the future of this podcast and YouTube channel because then I want to make it most relevant to you instead of me just rambling on and talking about the things that interest me. I love black and white, but there might be other things that you really want me to talk about. So let me know. So thanks for joining me, and I will catch you next time.